Hey, welcome to the Future Jam, a show where we talk about current and future tech and how it pertains to society and where we're headed together. Today I'm joined by Alex again, and also his more handsome brother, Patrick. Welcome to the show, guys.
Oh, thank you. Honored to be here.
No thank you from me. That was mean, Mike. This mean.
All right, yeah, I promised I would never talk about people's appearances on the show, but, you know, sometimes it comes out when you're looking at a handsome gentleman like Patrick, so I couldn't help myself.
That was in the Future Jam mission statement. We would talk about technology and not make fun of people's appearance.
I know. I was gonna rip into that sweater, but I guess I won't.
This is a nice sweater.
It is a nice sweater.
I like to bring class to this podcast.
It is pretty classy. I'm just sitting here in a t-shirt and didn't even do my hair for the episode, so.
Yeah, but your hair looks nice. I said it earlier. It's like a good puff thing going on in the front.
Yeah.
This is pants optional, right?
Is this for opening segment is just going to be all complimenting each other? Like, you look great, man. We're a positive show. We're building each other up. You know, this is fantastic.
Well, building you up, Mike, that's to get you mad.
I'll get mad later. But have you guys tried those Impossible burgers or like those like plant-based burgers at all before? Like I think Burger King has one, and I think maybe White Castle might have them as well. But
I'm gonna pass the pat on this one.
Yeah. So actually, I you might not know this by my outward appearance, but I am actually a vegan.
Really? So you've tried those burgers then? Okay. Yeah, I've not yet tried them.
They're good. I mean, if you want it, I think they taste like burgers. I was a vegetarian for a few years before, so I'm pretty sure I remember what meat tastes like. I think they're pretty good.
So the reason why I bring this up is because just before getting on here, I saw a news story post about McDonald's launching their own burger, and they're calling it the McPlant. I just thought that was the most hilarious name I've ever seen for a McDonald's product.
It's not like Mick Impossible or something like that. It's like, no, we want people to know that this is a veggie burger, and we're just going to call it McPlant.
It also sounds like they wanted people to know that they went with their first choice. Like, this is McPlant. All right, no more effort. We don't want anyone to know we're putting effort into this.
Well, to be fair, they named the chicken sandwich the McChicken. They named the rib sandwich the McRib.
That's true. They're very creative people over there at McDonald's.
I mean, I'm excited. I don't get to go to McDonald's as much, and it was my favorite fast food. Now I just go and get French fries, and it would be nice to actually order some food from McDonald's for once.
I probably won't try it, but I'm glad other people are happy.
That's the spirit. I'm the same. I won't ever try it. I'm like, why waste the money on something that that's not it's gonna be inferior? Why waste your money?
But how do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I know what meat tastes like, and I know there's nothing that can beat it. There's been plenty of taste tests out there where they like take a plain hamburger and compare it to like a professional chef's like doctored up veggie burger, and the plain hamburger beats out the veggie burger every single time.
I was not part of these tests.
I think it was just a Parks and Recreation thing, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But anyways, let's jump into some news stories real quick. We're gonna get back into that dumb tech of the week thing, and there's AirPods and like all those wireless earbuds are really popular right now, and I've heard that some subway systems in like New York City and Chicago actually have to delay trips because people are dropping their AirPods onto the tracks. And I'm like, why would you delay a whole trip just so somebody can get their AirPods up? Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, if you dropped them, it's your responsibility. They should be lost forever, I think.
Well, I think people, they're delaying the trips because people are jumping down to grab their AirPod.
I say, yeah, if you're going to go down there, stay down there.
Well, at least like Panasonic is trying to figure out a way to fix this.
Yeah, so, of course, a Japanese company is going to come up with something like this because they're very inventive people and they like to figure out like ways to get around stuff like this. So Panasonic invented this vacuum with a long neck on it that can reach down into the track, suck up the AirPods or earbuds and keep them on the end and not suck them into it. And so that way they can get the earpods or earbuds off the tracks safely, which I guess is a huge problem, but it just seems like they're just wanting to design vacuums, you know. Somebody there likes vacuums.
They said they have had 950 incidents between July and September of this year of people dropping their AirPods. So, man, it's a problem. Somebody has to fix it, Mike.
This is not addressing the actual problem. This is more like going after like the symptom of the problem. People need to be more responsible with their stuff. Like, we need more PSA ads on TV. Like, stop. Be careful what you're doing with your AirPods.
Are people getting shoved a lot on these train tracks? Like how do these fall out of their ears so much?
It's because AirPods are sucky and they don't actually have the rubber tips that keep them in your ears. They just sit in there.
What a more for look than...
Yeah, I feel like the AirPods are more for look than anything else. I like for me, like that style of earbud, I just can't keep them in my ear; they fall out. So I understand why people are losing them left and right. And then plus they're how much? Our $150 item. You lose one, and you have to. I'm not sure how much it costs to replace them. Do you know or?
Well, I think you just have to buy a new pair. Hence why people are jumping down, delaying the train to get their AirPods.
And I'm sure you can buy something that's comparable for half that price that's not Apple branded, probably.
Yeah, but I won't look cool.
That's true. You are handsome and you have to look cool. Agreed. We all agree on that on this show.
You can see my Apple headphones still have the cord attached to them, so I'm pretty cool, up to speed with the new fashion.
Yeah. But do you know where you wouldn't be able to find your earbuds? If you're trapped on Hell Planet.
Yeah, that's right. Planet K2-141b. A planet that's made completely of rock via liquid, solid, and gas is all rock on this planet.
So, Alex, why did you choose this story? This is bonkers. Like, this is a planet that's just hundreds of light years away and has no bearing on our life at all.
Well, actually, so the Earth is a molten lava planet. So at one point, the Earth was kind of like this planet, not as exactly because this planet's a lot closer to the star, so it's more of an extreme. But scientists are saying they could study this planet to see how Earth evolved to where we're at now, because it is part of the same thing where the molten lava is going to eventually harden and become rocks and become like land and all. So it is kind of important to study, but it's just like the oceans are made of lava. It rains rocks. 2/3 of the planet's in perpetual daylight. It reaches up to 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a hell planet.
Yeah, it's. I think the weirdest part is that it's locked in place. It doesn't rotate. So, like you said, 2/3 of the planet is incredibly hot. The other third is incredibly cold. And that's where you get the rock rain from.
Rock Rain sounds like an off-brand like heavy metal album though, like, doesn't it? I know there's Purple Rain, but Rock Rain, you know, that's the actual song of the century.
Yeah. I just think it's neat. Like, I don't know, I could see them putting this into like a Star Wars movie. Well, it's kind of like that planet that Anakin's on when he gets cut in half. Spoiler alerts for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, so for people who have not seen that movie, yeah, I guess it does fit that Star Wars planet thing where every planet is just one thing. Ice planet, rock planet, desert planet, like a whole planet that's just desert. So yeah, it definitely fits the imagination of Star Wars, but this is reality.
Well, speaking of desert planets, Mike, didn't you have a story about self-watering soil?
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues right now, especially in countries where there's perpetual drought or a lot of drought, and they have to irrigate their farms a lot to enable to get crops to grow. So that wastes a lot of water, and that's drinking water people could be drinking. So this group at the University of Texas in Austin developed a new type of soil that has like silicone. I think it's like silicone beads in it that will actually suck in water and store it in the soil. So it's like it holds more water than soil could ever possibly hold on its own.
Yeah, it sounded pretty neat. Like, so it will, during like cooler at like night when it's cooler and more like humid, like it will suck in the water and hold the water, and during the day when it reaches a certain temperature, it releases the water into the soil.
Yeah, so it does that naturally, so it doesn't really you don't need to water it as much, and you wouldn't need to irrigate for water.
Yeah, I know my least favorite thing, my wife has a ton of plants around the house, is when she calls me and says, hey, can you water all the plants in the house? So this is actually something I'm looking forward to getting, so then I don't have to do that anymore. And also make sure people can have drinking water in other places in the world, I guess.
Yeah, and they were saying like a problem there is like a lot of the soil is still good to grow stuff, is the lack of water. And like if this is able to provide like 40% more water than the normal soil in the area, like that's how crops and all grow, so they can get more food.
Yeah, so they can grow more larger crops and more crops in areas where they normally wouldn't be able to, basically. And so that helps out in a lot of ways. And they said this technology is also applicable in other areas too. So they said they could use that silicone, I guess, to cool like solar panels. And they said they could also use it for a drinking water source. So I guess it would suck in water from the air, and then you could get that water out for drinking water. So they said there's lots of different uses they're testing it out with, and soil is just one of them. But soil is a big issue, especially out in California, because you see this on the news all the time. California wastes tons and tons of water every year because they're a pretty dry like state for the most part, and their crops just basically they have to pump the water in from like out like all over the place. So this would really benefit like California even because they would be able to keep a lot of that water for drinking water as opposed to shipping it off to some company to grow crops and sell it overseas or something.
Oh, yeah, I saw it rain for the first time in San Diego in like 130 days. That was like on Saturday. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so this has lots of applications. I think this will steer us in the direction we need to go to become more sustainable and use less resources. So I think it's a plus. I guess the only downside would be people who are worried about I guess since it's not natural per se, about this additive in the soil and what it could possibly do outside of helping with water. So that's something to look at, I guess, but...
Well, and you could probably learn more about like this and the water situation in California probably from a documentary on Netflix. And speaking of Netflix, that's going to be our next topic. So Netflix decided they are doing something bold. They're creating a TV channel. So all they're going to do is just have a constant channel that's playing random stuff like your normal TV channel would. You want to pick it, you would just put it on, and it would have a program already set. So people are acting like it's like a big deal, but I think it's going to be used to watch, like promote stuff on Netflix that people don't watch, that they put all this money into, and oh, we can try to get a fan base this way.
Basically, it's for old people, Alex. This channel was only designed for old people in France because France is still like grasping onto their old methods of programming like over the air or cable, and Netflix is actually releasing this exclusively to France because they're not used to this new streaming method. So it's actually for that market and the old people there. And I just think it's silly. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. I think it will. If it comes out in America, maybe you and 2 other people will watch it.
Probably not me.
You would probably want them to add commercials in so you get up and go to the bathroom or something, because you can't find the remote and pause it for some reason.
You know I love my commercials. That's why I still have the Hulu commercials. No, I think it's just like, I don't know. Like, I could see them eventually having like, oh, this is our laugh channel where you can just have comedies on all day. This is our drama. Like, it's just to get people to watch stuff they're not watching.
Well, they do have like other streaming platforms that do this already, like Pluto TV and Tubi, where they're just like TV channels. And they're just like, or no, Tubi doesn't do that. But have you ever guys watched Pluto?
Yeah, I watch Pluto TV.
Yeah, it's just free TV, and they just have like a channel that's only like Mystery Science Theater, just 24/7, with commercials.
And the old Addams Family show.
And yeah, they just have like, and it's just streaming, and it's like free, and it's like, hey.
I will concede that it will be great for those people who have decision fatigue and just want to sit and watch something and not worry about it.
Yeah, I find myself sitting for like a half hour, like, do I really want to invest in this show? And then I always just go back to The Office.
Yeah, same here. Basically, they just need to have a streaming platform that's just called The Office, and that's all it does.
Isn't that what Peacock is?
Yeah, eventually, yes.
Not yet.
Eventually, that's what it will be.
Yeah, The Office is just going to get passed around to every like upstart streaming service to get them off the ground.
That and Friends. Like, basically, if you want your streaming platform to get off the ground, you either have to have The Office or Friends.
So today's topic is esports. So online video games, and we have our guest today, Patrick.
That's me.
Who's a big video game esports supporter.
Yeah, I'm glad he's on here, because I could care less about. Is that how you say it? I couldn't care less. I always screw that one up.
Either way, my feelings are hurt.
I could or couldn't care less about esports. So I'm glad Patrick's is here.
I mean, it is like valued at like $1 billion industry, so there is money in this sport. So Pat, well, what do you like about esports, and why do you have a esports jersey?
The question isn't why do I have an esports jersey, but the question is why do I have 2 esports jerseys? But I guess I'll start. So I am a high school teacher, and you're always trying to come up with ways to relate to the kids. And, you're like, oh, what songs are you listening to? Which is normally garbage. But then this one kid was like, oh, you should play this game, Overwatch. And it was $20, and I was like, all right, I'll play it. I'll try to, get some inroads. Turns out, fantastic game. And it's one of those things where it has like a, such a lore that it's just like, it's there if you want it. And, it's like, if you don't want to learn anything about it, you can just play the game, which is great. But then it like peeled back the curtain and was like, oh, by the way, we have this league, Overwatch League, where we have different teams from different cities. And like right when I started playing, it was the grand finals of the first season. And lo and behold, in the championship game was the Philadelphia Fusion. And I've introduced myself, I am a Philadelphia person born and raised. So anything that has the name Philadelphia attached to it, I'm like, well, I guess I'm a big fan right now.
So you like cream cheese a lot too, I guess?
Yeah, I had a whole bowl before I started this.
Who doesn't like cream cheese?
That's true.
Well, like, why don't we give a little bit of background of like esports? So, and like the biggest difference between esports and regular sports.
Wait, Alex. Real quick. Would we even consider it a sport? Because I almost think that esports is like a extension of chess, which is chess a sport?
Yes.
It's a sport of kings.
Okay.
I don't think that is. What is the sport of kings?
Yeah, define sport. Breaking a sweat?
I'm also somebody who considers like competitive eating a sport. So most things when you do things competitively, I consider it a sport. And the Olympic Committee is looking at putting esports into the next Olympics. So
all right, okay, yeah, you sold me on this. Okay, let's carry on.
So the biggest difference between esports and sports, I would say, is esports are owned by the publishers, the person that made the game. No one owns the game of football, baseball. Anybody can do these. This is why, like last year, you saw the XFL and the American Football League, because people can just start their own sports league. these games, you have to buy in to be able to play the for one, you have to buy the game, but like if you want to start a league or anything, you have to buy in to these games. And I would say that's the biggest difference between these sports.
And I guess if anybody was wondering, like on a more basic level, what esports is, the definition that I found was it's a video game that is played on a professional level, often with a huge spectatorship. So I guess originally this spectatorship was not on the internet like it is now. I actually followed this back all the way to 1972, and that was almost the beginning of esports. And they said at Stanford University, there were students competing in the video game Space War. And I have no idea what Space War is, if it still exists now or not. But way back in the 70s, this was a thing. And then in 1980, the first video game competition was held with Space Invaders. And there was an attendance of over 10,000 people. So back in the 80s, it was nuts.
Yeah, and as video games advance, the games get more evolved, and how we watch these games are more evolved. It does have a big market. I mean, there's money to be had in watching these games and playing these games. I don't know where you want to go, like how we want to look at this. You want to look at like the different types of leagues that they have now, or
follow the money, Alex. Always follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money, I guess. I guess the first thing I would ask, because I guess what I'm not necessarily most curious about, but dang, I lost track. Sorry.
You're fine.
He's not that curious about it.
I know. I have to make up. I'm super curious about this right now.
So freaking curious.
I got a case of the curiouses.
We're keeping this all in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would hope so.
Well, I mean, okay, so you explained what got you into esports in general, but why do you think your students are into esports?
The competitiveness of it. I think like they're really, like, kids are mean to each other, and what better way to prove you're better than somebody than by being able to shoot them in the head virtually quicker than they can shoot you in the head. I think it's a competition. I think people love competition. It's accessible. They can do it at home. They're,
That makes sense, yeah. And it's also like a more because if you are like in football or basketball, you have to be pretty much a physical specimen. And for video games, it's more of a thing of the mind. So I guess it opens up the playing field for more talents from different people. So like people like chess is more of a mental game as well. Like you don't necessarily have to be the most athletic person out there. So I guess this opens the door for people who are very talented and intelligent and good at what they do to compete when they wouldn't necessarily be able to do that in basketball or football or.
Yeah, and I also think my students in particular, they're inner city kids, so it's not like a lot of there's certain situations where it's like, you know what, it's probably safer if I just hang out in my room. And nowadays, like, we're talking over the internet and I can see you. It's not like you have to go to, like, I don't have to go to your house and play video games with you. It's like, hey, we can all still hang out. It's like a very social aspect to it too. And okay. I think that's why they get into it. It's because they're constantly talking to each other and they're playing games at the same time. And they're not getting yelled at for being home late. They're up until 3 a.m. playing each other in a video game.
So that makes sense to me why it is starting to become popular. I don't think they've been able to reach the levels of like traditional sports yet, though, obviously.
Well, like, we're also coming in like on the tail end of traditional sports. I mean, baseball has been around over 100 years. These sports weren't always popular right when they came into being. Like, people like with the XFL, people are like, oh, the XFL is not as popular as the NFL. Yeah, but it has to start somewhere. Like, you have to get bigger. Like, if you look at the biggest esports game, it's probably League of Legends. Mm-hmm. They have 120 million members that play that game worldwide. that's a pretty big population that plays that game. And it's also like split, like Overwatch I think has 40 million players. I think Call of Duty has 80 million players. Like, so the popularity's there. I don't think it's there mainstream yet. I think you're seeing people thinking it's going to get big. Cuz I remember like last year or like 2 years ago, ABC had Overwatch on like Sunday at like 3 o'clock when they were showing nothing else. Like, and and ESPN shows the Madden League tournament games.
Yeah.
So like, I think people see it like there is something there. It's just not there mainstream yet, and I think it's also because half the population didn't grow up with video games.
Very true. So, do you think it's going to take something that is more like for Madden? That's people understand it because it's football, right? And then also for Call of Duty, that's pretty easy to understand for the most part. You're just chasing around your enemy and shooting at them. So a lot of these shows, a lot of these games, I think, have a barrier to entry as far as like televising it. Like, how do you televise a lot of these things? And that's the thing I want to know.
Yeah, going back to the Overleague watch, I watched like an hour of it. I had no idea what was going on. I just saw guys putting up shields, other guys shooting each other, and like, oh, they captured the flag. I was like, oh, this is exciting. But I had no idea. I don't know. I know there's capture the flag in some of these games. But like, I didn't had no idea what was going on. But like, if I knew it, I would like it better.
Yeah, I think Overwatch League is pretty ambitious because it's such I think it's inaccessible if you've never played it. Like, there's 30 different characters that all do wildly different things, different shape sizes. It's really hard to explain. I'm not even going to bother to try. But like you said, like Call of Duty is like right for mainstream. It's like guys in military outfits running around. Like, we all know you get shot, you go down. Like, it's pretty simple, and then you can explain like, well, this one they have to stay in this area and defend it for 10 minutes, right? Like, you can make the rules like pretty simple to follow. Like, if you think about traditional sports, they're not that complicated. Like, you can explain baseball to somebody while watching baseball, and they'll get it by the fifth inning.
I understand that those sports have been around for like 100 years or more, some of them. So video games are so fresh. Like, a lot of these games probably came out last year or a couple years ago even. And some companies just make games that are specifically designed to market to esport aficionado people, and they hope that the esport people will like them, and then they'll rake in lots of money because people choose to play that over like another esports title.
Well, some of these games are over 10 years old. Like, if you're looking at the big ones, League of Legends, Overwatch I think is 10. Even no, it's not, 2014?
It's like four or five. Yeah.
Super Smash has been around since the early 2000s. Super Smash Brothers on the Switch is a big game that has big tournaments. Street Fighter is another game that's been around since the 90s. Like, some games have the staying power. They're big esports games. So I know, yeah, like you were saying, like some companies are trying to get into the market and like what games are popular, but I think you kind of have to have that demand and like what people are going to catch on for, and then try to launch the sport from there. Because like Call of Duty is over 10 years old.
Yeah, it's true. So I think maybe for ESPN or like TV channels and stuff like that, maybe just more dumbed down esports is probably going to be better. Like, I feel like fighting games would be great because you can tell like two guys fighting, like shooters, Madden, stuff like that. I think that's fairly accessible to a big group of people. So maybe we'll see that more on ESPN and channels like that. I don't know. What do you think, Patrick?
I think by the time ESPN and traditional TV gets into it, it's too late, because with things like Twitch and like YouTube, like especially Twitch, that's like the big one, and Mixer is Microsoft's.
They shut down.
Did they shut down?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a Twitch guy, so. But like with things like that in place, like that's the young audience. It's almost like it's underground, Like, they don't want to turn on ESPN to watch their game. They'd rather just like have their thing where they can interact with it. Like Twitch is very interactive. They can talk to the people while they're, and comment and stuff. And it's more future thinking, I think, since this is the future jam. I don't think like ESPN and those channels are like, they're just too old school thinking. Like they're like, oh, we want to hit every audience. Twitch is like, no, we want like the 300,000 people that are going to watch this. That's who we want.
And you don't have to pay to watch most esports, right?
No, none of them. They're all, I mean, if you want to see it in person, sure. But if you, just go online and watch it, it's free. You don't have to, pay cable to watch, Monday Night Football or whatever channel it's on.
So that's another interesting wrinkle because traditional sports, it's so hard to accept. It's not very accessible. You have to subscribe to a bunch of different cable packages. You have to live in certain markets. Totally different business model.
And one thing I would say esports has over regular sports is the accessibility. Like with Twitch, like these players sometimes launch their own Twitch channels, and like their fans can interact with them while they're playing a game. Like you can't interact with LeBron James while he's in the middle, like practicing or anything like that. Like here you can watch this guy play a game and you can ask him questions and he can answer them. So like I think there's like a fan base there for these guys. Like, but I do think there's like a generational divide even between like us and the people younger than us, because me and Pat have a younger cousin who's really in the online like video games, and like he started watching Minecraft, so he's just kind of used to watching other people play games, and like they're built like and can go into other games and understand them better.
So you think this is just not something that ESPN or like the TV will ever probably pick up on then?
Oh, I think they will. I think they'll throw a ton of money at it if it gets popular enough.
Yeah, I think they're going to try for sure.
I don't think it'll get the ratings they want though.
It won't.
I think most people will want to watch it on Twitch, like you're saying.
Yeah, but ESPN has like 4 channels that they need to get content for.
Yeah, like just to let you know, like right now on Twitch, Among Us has 109,000 people watching, Minecraft 230,000, League of Legends 111,000. Like there are people tuning into this stuff. It's not the millions and millions that they want for, they want to get that's why they have different demographics. This demographic is, I'm sure if you looked at the age, it's like 12 to 27.
So is it going to take like big personalities and like teams that are likable? Like, because in traditional sports, that's what we have is like, we really like the team from our city. We really like the personalities of some of the players or like what their past history, that type of stuff. Like you said, I guess most esports teams aren't affiliated with a city, right? Or is it some are or some aren't?
They are getting that way. So looking at like the traditional ways that these games have ran, it was mostly like a tournament. Like you play in smaller tournaments and it leads to like you can play in regionals, and then they have like a national tournament. Some play in like a circuit. That's how League of Legends used to be, where like they had teams and you would play like a circuit, and then it would end up, kind of like how golf and tennis works. You play in those different matches, and then they have like the major tournaments. But like Blizzard, Activision, which is a company that owns Overwatch and Call of Duty, has started trying to create like a more traditional North American league like the NFL, where they started with 12 teams that owners bought in. They said he's paid like $20 million for the first teams for this to be in the league, and they were set up in 12 different cities around the world, and they're trying to build like those fan bases. And when Blizzard launched the Call of Duty game in 2012, their new league, 10 of the 12 owners of the new Call of Duty league were owners from the Overwatch league that bought in to this. So like they're now trying to start like these fan bases in these cities. You're seeing these cities build stadiums too to support these events. So instead of like it being like a loose team that you followed on the internet, you might have a home team.
Yeah, Philadelphia is building a $50 million esports arena right in between Citizens Bank Park and, the Wells Fargo Center.
I had no idea that it was actually getting up to that level where they're building, like investing money in real estate. So if they're actually building like actual stadiums, then there must be money in a future there.
I was gonna say I think cities are seeing the excitement around like tournaments because that's where the headlines are. It's like some kid from Pennsylvania, 16 years old, won like $1.2 million or something playing Fortnite, and like cities see that and they're like, oh, we can have a tournament and bring in people, for one weekend and sell them stuff around the city, and I think there's a lot of different avenues you can look at esports.
It wasn't like Overwatch. Then it like they would have a city host like 6 teams a weekend, and like they would just be in the city that weekend, and you'll have fans coming to this game. It is building like getting that revenue as if you would have like here in Cincinnati, the Bengals come in one weekend, and the hotels and restaurants get people that way to come in and spend their money. So it was like driving a tourist business.
Yeah, it's cool that there's like these bigger upstarts like this that are like solidifying it and making it more a serious venture, because some of the other smaller leagues can be kind of not necessarily iffy, but like there's not a lot of, I guess, regulations involved with the players and such. So I think last year there's a league shut down just because some of the players were contacting younger fans, and since there's so much accessibility to it, stuff like that was happening. And it's nice that there maybe will be a little bit more structure involved, because I think if you're big, maybe there needs to be some sort of buffer between you and the fans.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. That's they are very it's very easy to contact these people.
Yeah, so it was a big controversy in like the fighting game community. So like I think one of the Smash Brothers tournaments was canceled, and another one of the Street Fighter tournaments was canceled because of reasons like that. So it can be iffy sometimes when you have like a small startup and fans have so much access to the players. But yeah, as it becomes more serious, I feel like there's going to be so much more money involved that they're going to probably hold these guys like a higher standard or something.
Oh yeah, they're going to have like ironclad contracts that they can't do, can't go motorcycle riding, because they might hurt their hands or something, like basketball players have, stuff like that.
So how do people even get started with esports? Is it something where you just become good at the game and then somebody calls you, or is it you get a scholarship at a college somehow, or like how does that even work?
So like a lot of games have something called competitive play, where it's like a special mode where you're specifically playing other people to move up the ranks and like have like a world rank, and then you have like the grandmasters and stuff. And if you're in this rank, you're playing other great players who are connected, or like, hey, you should come to this tournament, or and you sort of know where you stand. Like I'm in the bronze tier. This hopefully nobody who plays Overwatch listens to this. I'm in the bronze tier, like a lifer, and it's pretty terrible. But like I think like if you're in the game, like that, if you're good.
Okay, but like, can you get college scholarships or?
Yeah, so I actually started an esports club at my school where my students play other students from high schools all around the country, and the top teams that win each, like the fall league, winter league, and spring league, every kid on the team gets $1,000 scholarship, and you can play multiple games. So say Mike is playing 4 different games and he's amazing at them, and he wins them all. You can have $4,000, in the fall, and then $4,000 in the spring, and just keep adding it up.
Gotcha. And I guess that's just another way for colleges to draw like significant talent to their college, and maybe I don't know what type of revenue a college can get out of esports. I guess maybe they sign some sort of contract deal with the game publisher and they share revenue off of what's watched. I guess maybe you can watch. Didn't I see a story out there that a college was building an arena?
Yeah, no, I saw that article. There's the national, because the NCAA apparently does not want any part of esports.
Really?
There's like a whole because esports, like amateurs get paid, and the we all know how the NCAA feels.
Oh yeah, you're right. So even college people would get paid, I assume.
Yeah, they're like, well, we can't have them getting paid, so
God forbid,
officially sanction. Yeah. These kids bringing in that revenue for us.
God forbid that people get paid for what they're good at. Like colleges need all the money, right? So
It's true.
go ahead, Patrick.
No, but it's just like, yeah, there is a national like college like league, and they've just like partnered with some engineering company to go out to all the colleges that they use and help them build up like their own facilities, like specifically esports facilities. So like these places are popping up all over the place. Like it's not going to be like next year, but within 5 years, you're going to see a lot more colleges have strictly like, oh, this is our League of Legends team, and they're going to have Letterman jackets, and all the
Nerds.
girls are going to be following them around.
Well, I think in schools can just use it as like a recruiting tool. Like, oh, we got esports now, to make them seem hip.
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? I just want to see like a local community college ad on TV where they're like hyping up their esports league of mahjong tiles.
And that's the episode, folks.
Thanks for listening. Any other input you guys have on esports in general, or should we get into like what traditional sports can learn from what esports is currently doing?
I think it's going to be interesting to watch esports over the next couple of years because I feel like it's finally getting more and more recognitions. Like you're hearing more about like, anytime like a stadium's built in an area or like you hear about kids getting scholarships for it, like it puts it more in the other people's minds that this is a legit thing. And then if you randomly hear about like a tournament and like how much money that they're giving out at these tournaments, like I feel like it's legitimizing it more, that it's more building off. It would be interesting to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, it's sort of like the opposite of traditional sports where you work really hard and eventually you'll make money. Whereas this, you work hard and you're a kid and you could be making $1 million. Like you don't have that if you're a high school player. You don't have that if you're a college player. You have to keep grinding until you're 21 years old and then you can finally get that huge contract.
That's something I didn't even think of, Patrick. Thanks for bringing it up. Is in sports, it's so hard to tell. Like sometimes you can be good and not get a shot, and not be able to play, or maybe you're under a wrong coach, or there's certain situations where if you're a player in a traditional sport, you could have your talent squandered. Whereas in esports, it's right out there. You can't hide your talent. You are good at the game, and it shows because it tracks all the stats. It's computer software, so it knows who's good and who's bad. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's one thing that's interesting because in traditional sports, you might not ever get your shot.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about a Super Smash tournament that this 17-year-old kid that signed up for, and he was ranked like 183 out of like 230 people that signed up for this event, and he finished 9th. Like you can't, like nowadays with like youth sports like AAU basketball, these kids are groomed at like such a young age. Like they know who's gonna be good, and if you're not like privy to playing on one of these high-end teams, like it's so much harder for you to get there. The video games, it is just an even playing field. Like you can play more than another kid, but like you still have the same opportunity to make it professionally as anybody else.
So I think that's something that traditional sports can learn from it, like figure out ways to make their sports more accessible to more people, because sometimes sports cost a lot of money to get into. So yeah, I think that's one thing definitely that regular sports can learn from it. Another one I was thinking was regular sports, you're like tied to one stupid camera angle. And I would love it in football if you could switch that camera angle behind the quarterback and actually see all the players run their routes and see the plays as they actually, go out and do their thing. So regular sports, you don't have much choice as far as how you watch it. You just kind of watch it how they want you to see the game. Whereas in esports, you can like switch like your views. You can view different players, like their view. You can view the above view of the map. There's all sorts of different ways you can engage in esports. And in traditional sports, you can do that somewhat after the game's over in some of these apps, like and Game Pass for NFL, you can watch the coaches footage and all that stuff, but it's not exciting and accessible because it already happened.
And didn't they try that? And they would do like the sky cam behind the quarterback, and then people just complained.
They sometimes do it on occasion, but I'm talking about like maybe some sort of app where you can switch yourself. Like maybe there's the traditional view, but then you can switch up the camera angles and choose. I know VR is going to be a thing eventually. I know NBA has been testing it out where you can actually kind of feel like you're sitting in the actual stadium, or you can get different views for the VR glasses, and get a wider spectrum view as well. So,
well, that not like vision wise, but part of the reason like I like the XFL and the second go around is like you could hear everything that was going on with the players. And like in these esports games, a lot of times you can hear like the players on teams talking to each other,
like their
about
chat,
like what, yeah, and like you can hear them talk to each other, and like I think it gives you like more insight of like what they're thinking while they're playing.
Yeah, there's just so many rules in regular sports. Like they tried miking up quarterbacks and stuff like that during like big games and like showing more of their audio. And sometimes coaches get really mad that their quarterback's mic'd up. So it's like they want to do stuff for the fans, but also lots of teams are like, no, we don't want that. We won't allow that for our team. So
I also think like they're in a position like they don't have to, right?
Exactly.
People are watching it anyway. Like everyone keeps talking about like ratings for football are down, but it's still the number one thing anybody is watching. So like, is it that bad if you're still number one? Like,
but that's what stinks though, is we don't get progress because companies don't feel like they have to do anything.
And that's where esports come in.
Esports is probably not going to be taking any of their viewership away, honestly. But do you think esports is eating away at regular sports at all? Or
well, the NFL lost one viewer. I only watch esports
because the kneeling. You're angry about kneeling.
No, I was gonna say all the same things about the camera angles.
I'm mad that they flew jets over the stadium. I'm not watching another game.
I'm mad that they're making us watch the Jets on Monday night.
Oh, that's actually a legit qualm.
I think there was one thing. I know we keep talking about like what traditional sports can learn from esports, but I think esports can learn from traditional sports.
Yeah, I would like to hear this.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a sad like look at it, but it's like depression rates run really high amongst kids who are really into esports because like when you're playing football, you go to practice.
Yeah,
practice is X amount of minutes long, and then you go home and you're tired and you refresh and you like take a shower, and you know you're not going to go just play football for 16 hours into the night. And like with esports, it's just you just keep playing, and they call it the grind, and it's like if you're not grinding 10 hours a day, you're not trying, and then these kids are just like burning themselves out. They're not focusing on things that are like they should be focusing on. Like there is a lot of upside to esports, but there is like a darker side that should be like if they're going to have like high school teams and like college teams, like you have to like cap it, like hey, you're under contract or something, like you can't play this much.
That's true.
It's not good
because if you're on a basketball team, like when I was in high school, they had rules like you could only practice so many nights a week, and also your body will limit you to how many hours you can practice as far as basketball and football because you'll get exhausted. Like whereas with esports, I feel like you can play hours on end and take a break to go to the bathroom or eat some food and then go right back to playing again. So yeah, I agree that definitely you can abuse it a lot more than any other sports.
There's one thing that's really interesting that I didn't know until I started watching is you'll see the esports players using hand warmers in between like matches because their hands cramp up and they have to keep their hands loose. It's like the weirdest, like you're playing so much your hands cramp. Like I think that's your body telling you this isn't good, right? Like,
yeah, I think and like well, you notice that in like older sports where like the regulations weren't there. Like over time, these players are going to have, if they're playing in these professional leagues, having the demand like they're like, oh, we can only practice 8 hours a day instead of like 10 or 12 that you're making us do that. We need a break and things like that. They're going to eventually have to get there. But like also notice like a lot of esports guys retire pretty young, like younger than you would think for like video game player.
Yeah, I feel like do a lot of them get injuries as far as like carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that? I wonder, or is it like a young man's game where you need like a fast memory?
I think that's also part of it. I think we all had that moment where you played like, you're like, oh, I'm really good at video games, and then you play like your younger cousin, and you're like, wait, why is this 8-year-old better at this than me?
Yeah, and anything else you guys want to add before we close out?
I'm good.
Are you guys going to record another episode just in case this one's terrible and then air that on?
We already did. We're gonna air just me like singing the song to like the theme song to Beverly Hillbillies. So that's basically all it's gonna be.
I would listen.
Well, now you have to do that. Yeah.
I don't even know the theme song. Is there actually lyrics to that show?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know them, but there is.
Well, okay.
Well, something. Our dad is gonna be very mad at this.
Your dad? Because is he a big Bev fan?
He's a big hillbilly.
How do you the BH fan? A big BH fan?
That sounds bad.
Our dad is a big BH fan.
Don't know what that means, but
Thanks everybody for stopping by for another episode of the Future Jam. How was it, Pat?
It was really fun. I'm glad this is my first and what will likely be my last appearance on the show.
No, you did great. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Alex, for actually posting some stuff out on our Instagram.
Getting there.
We got some drawings in from kid fans, so we posted those up on our Instagram. I assume that's what they were from.
That was me, bored at work.
Oh. Well, anyways, if you have some fan drawings, feel free to send them to thefuturejam@gmail.com. You know, we'll post them up on our Instagram. So if you have anything better than Alex can draw, please send it our way.
I wouldn't even try.
And you can follow us actually on Instagram at The Future Jam, Twitter, Facebook, all the places. You get the drill. And you can leave us a review. Anybody who has an Apple phone can leave us a review. Anybody else, just enjoy. Don't worry about that stuff.
So wait, I can't review?
No, yeah, you can only review if you have an iPhone.
It's odd that Google doesn't let you review, or like one of the other podcasts. Like, sites doesn't let you review podcasts. Also, if you have any topics you want us to discuss, you can give us a call at, 800-BOT-COLA?
No, 513-BOT-COLA. Alex, get it right, okay?
BOT-COLA.
Yes. I don't feel like memorizing the actual numbers, so BOT-COLA is easier to remember. So yeah, you can call us at 513-BOT-COLA, leave us a message, we'll play it on the show, ask us a question, give us a topic idea, whatever you are feeling like.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
That has a great sign off, Alex. See y'all.